So, Mr. Jacobson, what's your favorite memory from back when you were a teen?
Well, I had a great teenage years. I grew up in Brooklyn and had a lot of friends. I was involved in the church and the school. Actually, my high school was really a great experience. I went to Brooklyn Tech High School, which was like the first magnet school in New York City. It's still there today. There's 5,500 boys. There were no girls in the school at that time, but when I graduated, there were 2 girls that came into the school in the freshman class. I I don't have one particular memory, let's say, from my teenage years, except the fact that I remember having a good time, enjoying learning, enjoying being with my friends, enjoying my heritage, enjoying the celebrations. It was a good time family-wise for me.
Is there a moment in your life that made you find your passion for teaching or direct you onto the path of becoming a teacher?
I knew I wanted to be a teacher when I was in middle school, and I had a passion for history. I love history. I still love history today. But when I went to my high school, Brooklyn Tech, I had phenomenal math teachers. I had my geometry teacher that I had, Mr. Kravitz. He was the one who just turned me on to the whole idea of teaching this thing called math, geometry, this whole concept of a logic system. And I decided then that I was going to become a math teacher. And I had great teachers there in high school. Miss Berlin, who I wish I could contact. I wish I could contact some of these people now, but they're probably quite old, or if they're not even, they might not even be here today. But I never got a chance to say thank you to them because they were really influential in my decision to become a teacher.
What do you like most about teaching?
I actually, well, you're one of my students, okay? But one of the favorite things I like is to have some time with the kids. I love conversing with them, asking them about, something that has happened, with them with their sports or something of that nature. I enjoy getting to know the students a little bit more than just being that person who's going to stand up on the board and just tell them how, the great things about the fundamental theorem of calculus, part 1 and 2. So I like, that's what I like about teaching is the ability to try to communicate a little bit more on a different level with students as well.
What has been your favorite activity and or program during your years in academic involvement?
I would probably say that one of my favorite activities that we did after school was Project Adventure, which was really a very interesting program where all the teachers had to work in teams and they had to build team building ideas to make a task successful and to complete a task. And it was more physical. And we had spent an in-service day doing that. But going beyond that, as far as programs are concerned in this building, I think the most important thing was the time I spent in Project 79. I spent 14 years in there, just about 14 years, and I really learned a tremendous amount about teaching and what teaching was all about. And that has had a profound effect on me as an individual, to me as a teacher, and has affected my teaching to this day.
Is there a specific event in WHS that impacted your outlook on your career?
Well, there are so many things that have happened in the WHS over the 39 years, let's face it, okay? The building is not the same as it was when I walked in here in 1975. The programs are different, the requirements are different, the students are different. I would say that the greatest thing that happened in this building as a math teacher is that you get a chance to teach new things after the year is over. And I probably have taught every course in this math department except maybe for AP Stat. And that includes the computer science and the AP computer science and so on down the line. I think that that's something that is very interesting because you don't come to the job with the same clients all the time. Every year your clients change, the students change, and every year the courses that you teach change. And as a result, you need to do research, you need to figure out what the requirements are, you need to try to figure out ways in which to get the students to understand what you're trying to get them to learn.
To follow up on the previous question, in general, what is your most vivid memory as a teacher at WHS? Has it made any impact on you professionally and or personally?
There have been snippets of events that have happened where where you have a situation with a student who I remember a student years ago who many years ago. This is going back probably into the late 70s, early 80s, and this person was just not very cooperative, not very, I guess the individual was just simply a person who had a lot of walls around them. And that year, my wife and I actually adopted one of our 3 children, and he heard about that, and all of a sudden those walls just melted in front of me, and he became this different student and so cooperative and so willing to learn and wanting to know how things were. And that was a very unusual incident that happened. And from that incident, you realize that students have lives, that they are individuals, and they also have to realize that teachers have lives and have, different things happening in their life. And I think that celebration of making that connection and communication has affected me a lot. So I think that's one that is a memory that goes back many years. Other memories are, when, good colleagues have passed on, or like I said before, different activities that we did in the programs, in the math programs, and also in Project 79 over the years. Each one of them have had a profound effect on me.
In your opinion, what has been your most significant impact on the school community?
I think I have tried to be a consistent, positive, energetic role model for teachers to emulate, as well as to try to be a teacher that has tried his best to get the students that are sitting in front of him to learn. And sometimes it's easier than others, right? Some years when you have certain level classes or certain groups of students, that it could be a challenge. And it's and I think when I look back in my career, I've had probably every type of student and every type of level of course, from soup to nuts, and I think I have tried to maintain a positive and a friendly and attitude, and try to make those connections with those students. So I think that's probably what I would say would be the thing that I have tried to do the most and tried to make the most impact with in most of high school.
Is there a specific event during your years at WHS that changed your style of teaching?
The years I spent at Project 79 has changed my style of teaching. All right, and when you come first, a new teacher, you have all these new ideas and these new concepts and stuff like that. But you're sometimes a little bit more tense and a little bit more nervous. And I was 21 when I started here, and I had 3 senior classes, and that was nerve-wracking in itself. I think that the thing that I've learned in the years that I spent in Project 79 was to treat the student more holistically, as opposed to a person that came for 43 minutes and just my job was to disseminate information. And I think that is what has impacted my whole concept of teaching and changed it around, turned it around. I don't think I would be the teacher that I am today with the ideas or the strategies or the concepts that I try to do if it were for the time I spent in Project 79. I mean, after all, the Norwegian Ice Rap is right from Project 79, whether you believe it or not, you're one of our students. So many different things that we've tried that have kind of followed me through the years, and I've been out of Project 79 for many, many years, okay, has, I think, affected how I view education, how I view the students, and how I view my job as a teacher there.
Actually, going off of that, how have students changed over the years that you've been teaching?
Well, I think students have, I think that students always have been concerned about doing well. I think grades are so much important to so many students, but my concept is that you have to be concerned about learning and understanding and trying to develop ideas and strategies that are going to help you for your lifetime. Students have changed in terms of their expectations that with technology, I think students expect instantaneous results. I think you get emails at 1 in the morning, for a copy of a worksheet, and probably with the expectation that they're going to get a response to that. But that just doesn't happen. So I think that students expect with technology and with texting and with twittering and with emails and with all this instant communication that they would expect things to be fixed or responded to much more quickly. And I think parents also. Before it used to be that you get a message in your mailbox and you'd have 48 hours to respond to a message, all right? Now, of course, right now, you get an email from a parent or a student or a text or whatever, and the expectation is that you're going to respond to that more quickly. So there's some differences with that. I think students have different pressures around them than they did before. I think that the competition is greater than it was before. I think students feel more. I get the sense that maybe students feel a little bit more anxious than they did before. I think students have always been oversubscribed with activities and stuff, and I think that still is true today. But there are so many more opportunities that they realize that they can participate in because of technology, so that you may not know about this program 25 years ago that's in Germany that is talking about something that you have an interest in, but with the internet and with technology, you might know about that and might get involved in that.
Have you integrated technology into your teaching? If yes, how did you?
Why don't you ask that? That's a question. I think yes. I use the iPad, the document camera, the interactive projector. My gosh, when I went through education school, they took us into a room and they said, okay, now technology, it's changing. You have to know how to use these things. Now, before it was the risograph machine, and then they had this new 3M product, which you put an acetate sheet over a sheet of paper, and you put it through this thing, and it would heat up the paper, and it would put the image onto that acetate so you could throw it on the overhead projector. That was like the great new technology, okay? Now it's the document camera. You have something, you stick it in front of the document camera. Now you have the interactive projector, and you have this pen, and you can write notes, and you can save it. Greatest thing since sliced bread, because when a student is out on the cheap, you can save the notes, and the kid can get emailed notes. So technology has changed, and technology, I think, has been used. Last year I had a set of iPads in there, and kids took a quiz on an iPad. Now, what would be interesting? What's going to happen 10 years from now or 20 years from now? When my grandson is going to be in high school and college, So that's going to be interesting because things have changed a lot since 2000, since 2006.
What were your greatest concerns when you began teaching? Do those concerns turn out to be justified concerns or just the typical nerves of a new teacher?
I think when a first-year teacher comes to the building for the first time, they are panic-stricken. I think they are nervous. They have butterflies in their stomach. Are you going to be able to communicate the math? Are you going to be able to relate to the students? Are you going to be able to discipline students and stuff like that? Are you going to be able to I'm sure that any person who is starting a new job is going to have similar concerns and butterflies in their stomach. I think one of the things that I was concerned about was the fact that I was so young and that the students were the older groups that I had in the school, and it worked out fine. The first year is a tough year because you have to get used to all the ins and outs of the building and all the ins and outs of the policies and all the ins and outs of dealing with students. And at the end of the first year, you say, oh, glad that year's over. And then you start over again with a fresh group of students and you learn from your mistakes and you learn from your successes. And so then you move on. It's a building. It's like a ladder. You're building and building and building and learning and improving and making different decisions or same decisions or maybe less later better decisions. The person that I walked in 1975, it's the same body, but not the same body, I guess. It's the fears that I had were not warranted because everything worked out fine.
Is there something about teaching that you never did figure out and probably still wonder or worry about?
I don't think that there's anything that I didn't sort of figure out. I guess there's always the pondering of the question, how can you do something better? How can you maybe make this more relevant? But then again, it's a two-way street. The students also have to be receptive to learning. I don't think there's anything really that I haven't sort of figured out. I just realized that the students are individuals that have their own demands and on their own time, and they have a lot of different interests, and getting to know those interests is really important because that sometimes helps them feel more comfortable and learn better in class. But I don't think that I'm leaving here saying, man, I don't know how to fix that problem. I don't think so.
What is the best lesson you've learned from a student / the WHS community, and what would you want other current WHS students and or professionals to learn from it?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and it's something that I learned when I was in Project 79. I was teaching a Algebra 1 course, and I had 7 students around the table, much like we have here, and I was teaching Algebra 1 to these 7 students. And there was this one student in particular, called Student A to protect her identity. And she wasn't able to remember certain rules about laws of exponents, but she was into rap music. And what we did is we made the Norwegianized rap for the laws of exponents. When you raise to a power U, multiply. And when you multiply terms U, add. And when you divide U, subtract. These are facts you need to know firsthand. And I have to tell you that that was the beginning of it. That was in the early 1990s, and now it's 2014, and I still use it today. And that was a very interesting lesson because sometimes you just have to delve into the interests and the talents of the student to try to get them to understand and to remember certain facts in math. And so that is one of the things that I have done and learned from that student is try to relate or get them to understand how to do the material based on some of their background. Because sometimes they have a little trouble with it, and sometimes they don't. Years later, and I have to tell you that years later, a student came back to me who said, Mr. Jacobson, I just need you to know that in my college algebra course that I took, the teacher was trying to teach us laws of exponents, and she said, I finally raised my hand and said, the reason why these people are having so much trouble is they don't know the Jacobson rap. And she said, what is that? And she got up in front of the class and said the rap. And so I thought that was kind of very gratifying to hear that it went beyond just the walls of Westfield High School in my classroom.
Cool.
Okay.